Look at this Butester right here coming on in.
Whoa!
Whoa! Whoa! Wow!
How are you, mates?
Mates, I'm great. New Zealand's own. You saw him your whole life growing up, and if you don't know who this guy is, and if you don't know what tag team he's a part of, then you are an absolute loser. Because you are a legend, my friend, and thank you for being a part of the show today.
And it's great to be here, Todd.
Luke Bushwhacker from the Bushwhackers. Yeah, everyone knew Luke and Butch, and you haven't licked anyone yet. Nice to
Not
see
yet, mate. Not yet, but you're looking bloody lovely, mate. Hey, I hope you taste like sardines. I love that fishy taste.
Thank
You know what I mean? And there's more than one kind of fishy taste. What are you laughing at, mate?
I'm laughing at the fact that you must have, with that tongue and that licking movement, met many ladies in your day of wrestling.
Oh, man. Right down under. That's where I'm from, mate. The thunder from down under.
Hey, Luke, do you guys from New Zealand, do you like Australians?
Over here, we're brothers. Back down under, we're enemies.
Yeah.
In sport. Yeah, we're enemies. But the Aussies are not bad guys.
Hey, so how do you get into wrestling? It's not like it's a big wrestling culture. You think footy, you think rugby, you think these types of sports. You think maybe where they film Lord of the Rings, but you don't necessarily think a wrestling.
Yeah, well, mate, the guy next door was a bodybuilder, and the Mr. New Zealand became a wrestling promoter. Plus, he was a judge in the bodybuilding. Hence, my next door neighbor got hooked up into the wrestling, and he took me along, and never thought I'd be over here. And this is the first country that the two boys from down under came into, North America. We came into Canada in '72 for a company out of Montreal called Grand Prix, which we worked Ontario, Quebec, and a bit of Manitoba.
Wow! So
that's what this was our first country. So God bless Canada.
Yeah, that's like 43 years ago. You guys get over to Canada, and you're already wrestling back home. Did you in your wildest dreams, growing up as a small boy, maybe a big boy, because it sounds like you were working out a ton, Luke, but did you in your wildest dreams ever think to yourself, you know what? I'm going to be one of the world's most famous wrestlers of all time?
Never thought it at all, mate. But we had the right contacts, mate. Andre was over there, Gene Free the Giant. He was in New Zealand in the 60s, and Butch and me worked with him around there. And his first entry into North America was, of course, Quebec, being a Frenchman. So when we arrived, he'd be here 6 months, so he took us under his wing, and hence we just got to move.
Wow. So Andre the Giant was the guy who took you under his wing?
Yeah, with the Vachons, originally from you've heard of the Vachons?
Yeah, I have.
Morrison, Mad Dog Vachon and Paul.
Of course.
They're the guys that brought us over here. They had the promotion out of Quebec there with Edward Caponte at the time. We're going back years. We're going back before BC.
Yeah, you're going back before I was born, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Just
but
about
anyhow, Canada's been good. We got our start, and of course, our second place was Stu Hart's territory, Stampede Wrestling, and we never knew who Stu Hart was. We didn't know he had 12 kids, 4 daughters and 8 boys, and when we hit there the second time, story the first night, short story. First night in there, we're in the pavilion, and we hit the ring, work with the champions. We beat them up and that and get DQ'd. Next minute, these kids are getting thrown in the ring by Abdullah the Butcher. And they were bleeding, some of these kids. We didn't know who they were, 10, 12-year-olds. And that, when we went back to the dressing room afterwards, Stu said, "What the bloody hell are you doing?" And we said, Abby was throwing the kids in and telling us to put the boot to them. He says, "Well, they're my bloody kids." Hence, now one of them was Bret.
Bret Hart.
Yeah, he was only 12 or 13 then. This is 1973.
My goodness.
Small, short story, but
it's a brilliant story. Luke Bushwhacker joins us here on the program, Canada Laughs, Channel 168 on Sirius XM. When you came over here, were you amazed on how these legendary families, from the Vachons to the Harts to how the culture of Canada really had a lot of amazing wrestlers? Did that surprise you?
Yeah, no, I heard about a lot of them because they came down for the American promoter who was in Australia, Jim Barnett. He was the first guy that got Ted Turner to put wrestling on satellite. when it was WTBS in the 70s, and he had a lot of Canadian wrestlers. So I met Tarzan, a lot of guys, great names in the business. From the 70s.
It's such an amazing story to think where you've come from to where you've gone to where you are, of course, being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame most recently. The stories that you must have, the tales that you probably can tell or can't tell, must be phenomenal. What is one that you haven't told a lot? A story that you were involved with as a bushwhacker that really just resonates and maybe the audience wants. Something that's a little bit, maybe a little uncensored. What's something a little crazy that you would have experienced?
Well, I've been with a lot of crazy guys in my life, and Roddy Piper is one of my longest-standing mates. And of course, we all know who Roddy Piper is, and we did some crazy shit on the road. Anyhow, Buddy Rose, Playboy Buddy Rose, God bless him, he's dead now. But you may remember Playboy Buddy Rose at WWE. We'd drive along at 100 miles an hour on the road, and this is in going back a bit in the early 80s, and that Roddy, Playboy and me and Butch and a few others in the car, we get pulled over by the cops. We see a siren in the back and that, and Buddy's crazy. He was straight, but he drove at 100 miles an hour all the time and that. We see the cops light flash and that. He pulls out a blade, hits his head, and the blood's running everywhere. Cop pulls over. He says, "I'm just in a cage match. I'm just in a cage match. Can you lead me to the nearest hospital?" And the cop goes in front of us, puts a siren on, and we follow him into the hospital. He leaves us there. We take off and keep going home. How's that one?
Cuts his own head open just to get the escort right to the hospital.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Jay Brody. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a comment. We read the best ones on the air.